No one knew where he came from. The first time Nurse Eliza saw him, he was curled up on the cold metal bench just outside the emergency room doors. A grey and white tabby with tired eyes and a dusty coat. He didn't beg or meow, didn't run when the automatic doors whooshed open, or when the ambulance lights painted the pavement in urgent reds and blues. He simply watched, still as stone, as if waiting for something or someone. It was early December, and the air carried the bite of winter. Hospital staff came and went, glancing at the cat, some pausing briefly, others offering scraps from their lunch or muttering words of pity, but no one touched him. He looked clean but weather-worn, like a soul used to being overlooked. On the third day, Eliza couldn't bear it anymore. She brought out a folded towel and gently laid it on the bench. The cat blinked at her, then slowly shifted his weight onto the cloth, as if recognizing a small mercy. She sat beside him for a moment during her break. The soft hum of the hospital behind her, the chill wind pressing at her coat, and the steady, patient presence of the cat beside her, it all felt strangely reverent, like something sacred was unfolding in silence. When she whispered, "Who are you waiting for, sweetheart?" the cat didn't move, but his eyes never left the entrance. Chapter 2. A name unspoken. By the end of the week, everyone in the hospital had noticed him. He was dubbed Oliver by the receptionists and Ghost by the night shift janitors. The paramedics started bringing him water. A few patients even asked about the hospital cat as they were wheeled through the entrance. Yet Oliver, Ghost, never left the bench, not even during the snow flurry that dusted his back like powdered sugar. Dr. Howard, one of the senior physicians, scowled whenever he passed. "Health hazard," he muttered one morning. "We can't have strays loitering around a medical facility." But Eliza defended him. "He's not hurting anyone. He just waits." Dr. Howard didn't respond, but Eliza noticed he slowed down the next time he passed the bench, lingering just a second longer. Late one night, Eliza stood behind the glass doors, watching Oliver. He was staring fixedly at the ambulances as they came and went, his ears perked, his body alert. It wasn't random, it wasn't boredom. He was waiting, with purpose. She thought of the patients they'd lost in recent weeks, of the elderly woman who had asked every day for her cat before passing in room 204, of the young man who'd come in after a crash and whispered through cracked lips, "Tell Molly, I didn't forget." Could a cat know? Could a heart as small and silent as his carry a memory that no one else did? Eliza stepped outside, knelt before him, and looked into those vast green eyes. "You're not lost," she murmured. "You're remembering." Oliver leaned forward and touched his nose to her hand. That night she left the hospital with a weight in her chest she couldn't name. Chapter 3. The day the doors opened. It happened the following Tuesday. A nurse new to the staff opened the emergency room doors to wheel out a discharged patient. Oliver, as usual, sat on his bench, unmoving. But then, for the first time in 9 days, he stood up. His tail swayed low and deliberate. His head lifted, ears forward. He stepped off the bench, paws padding silently over the slush-slick pavement. Before anyone could react, he walked straight through the automatic doors and into the hospital. Gasps followed his small frame. A man in a wheelchair whispered, "Did you see that?" A receptionist dropped her pen. Oliver walked with purpose, past triage, past reception. His fur was still speckled with snow, but he moved as if drawn by something no one else could sense. Eliza, who had just stepped into the hallway, froze mid-stride. He padded past her, down the hall, left at the nurse's station. He walked until he reached room 112. It had been empty since Mr. Bennett passed 3 days ago. A quiet man in his 80s. He'd slipped away in his sleep, whispering whiskers, with a faint smile on his lips. Oliver sat at the doorway, his body still. And then he meowed. Not a cry, not a demand, but something soft and aching. A sound like grief and reunion braided into one, the kind of sound that presses into your ribs and doesn't let go. Eliza's breath hitched. People gathered in silence, watching the cat who had waited outside through wind and snow now sit at the door of a room that once held a dying man. He was waiting, someone whispered. And in that moment, no one doubted it. Chapter 4. Echoes in the quiet. The hospital was never truly silent, yet in that moment it felt like the whole building paused to breathe with Oliver. He sat vigil at the door of room 112 for hours. No coaxing or gentle nudges moved him. Eliza brought him a small bowl of food and water, which he touched only once. Mostly, he waited. Not for someone to return, but perhaps to say goodbye. That night, security suggested removing him, but Dr. Howard, the same man who once called Oliver a health hazard, said softly, "Leave him. He's not doing harm." And so, the hospital, a place of facts and medicine, of life and death measured in charts and scans, made room for something it couldn't quite explain. By morning, Oliver had curled up just inside the door of room 112, his back to the hallway, his body still. He didn't move when Eliza knelt beside him. She reached out, gently brushing her fingers along his neck, and whispered, "He loved you, didn't he?" A soft rumble answered, a purr, delicate and steady, like a distant lullaby. Eliza closed her eyes, and for the first time since Mr. A. Bennett passed, she felt peace settle around the room like a warm quilt. Chapter 5. The Unspoken. Goodbye. After that, Oliver stayed. He never wandered the hospital beyond the ground floor, never entered another patient room. But he returned to the bench outside most days, always at dawn, always alone. Word spread about the cat who had waited for a man no one knew was waiting for him. Volunteers offered to adopt him, but Oliver always found his way back to the hospital. Even when someone took him home overnight, he would be seen again at sunrise, paws resting on the bench, eyes scanning the doors. And then came Margaret. She was wheeled into room 108 one rainy Thursday morning, an elderly woman with sharp eyes and trembling hands. Eliza noticed how Oliver paced the hall outside her door, stopping often, tail twitching. On the third evening of Margaret's stay, Eliza asked gently, "Do you like cats?" Margaret's eyes lit up. "My Theo was my shadow, followed me everywhere. When he died, I stopped talking to the sun, I think." Eliza smiled. "Would you like to meet someone?" That night, for the first time since Mr. Bennett, Oliver entered another room. He leapt gently onto the bed and curled beside Margaret's hand, his purr a steady balm. She cried without a sound, brushing trembling fingers through his fur. They stayed like that until morning. Margaret lasted 3 more days. When she passed, Oliver returned to the bench. No one asked why anymore. They understood. Chapter 6. The cat who stayed years passed. The hospital grew, wings expanded, staff changed, but Oliver remained. He became a part of the hospital's heartbeat, quiet, consistent, mysterious. When children asked about him, nurses told the story softly, like a fairy tale. He came for someone once, stayed for the rest. Some believed he was the soul of a patient returned to comfort others. Some said he could feel pain before it was spoken. Others, like Eliza, no longer needed an explanation. He slept beside the dying. He comforted the grieving. He appeared at the doorways of rooms where someone was lonely or afraid. And when he grew old, fur silvered, legs slower, a bench was placed for him just inside the hospital lobby beside a sunlit window. The plaque read, "In honor of Oliver, our quiet guardian, our gentle friend." One morning he didn't wake. Eliza was the one who found him, curled in the sunlight just as the day began. She knelt beside him and whispered, "You stayed longer than any of us deserved." There were tears and flowers and a small framed photo placed on his bench. But in the quiet of the hospital halls, in the moments before dawn, some say they still hear soft paw steps. And sometimes a warm weight settles gently beside a patient's hand, unseen. He waited once, and perhaps somewhere beyond, he waits still.